Hi, I'm James, and today on the desk we have this, which is an Acer Aspire A315-54K laptop, and the first thing that we're going to be doing is removing all the screws from the base to get inside to it. And so what we're going to do, all the screws on this machine are exposed on the back, so we are just going to remove them and place them off to the side in the same arrangement that they have come out. This ensures that when we're putting things back, although I don't believe there are different screw lengths in the back of this machine, it just means we put things back where they came from. In total, there are, I believe, 10 screws in the back of this machine, so 3, 3 and 4. And these shouldn't be retained or captive, they should all just lift out. With screws removed, we now want to separate the base from the palm rest. So what we're going to do is take a pry tool, and we want to go around here and find the join between the two sections, and then begin pressing at about a 45-degree angle our pry tool into this gap. And what we want to do is just gently lift the base, so you are pushing the outer edge of the palm rest out a little to allow the clips to come apart and release the base panel. Working along the front next. And you don't want to press in too hard, just enough to separate things. And what we're going to do is go to the other side first. Back. Basically just working our way round, trying to find areas where we can separate things. It's obviously a lot easier when you don't have a camera in the way. And with that done, we can lift up and lift the base panel clear. So once inside, our first job is going to be that of disconnecting the battery, just to ensure that the laptop is completely off while we are working on it. Now that is achieved by pushing the little edge pieces of the battery connector. In this case, we're going to have to just pull it with a finger on one side and lift that cable up and pull it clear. So now, to remove the lid from the machine, what we are going to do is first of all disconnect the display cable. Second of all, we want to undo the two aerial cables. We then want to lift this I/O board cable out the way and peel up this little sticker, which is for routing the aerial leads. We are then going to just take them out of these little metal cable stays, through the plastic, and get them back to the panel. We then have to undo the 2 screws on each hinge. The 3rd screw goes through the base, so it doesn't need to come out as it has already been removed when we took that off. Okay, with that done, our hinges now should be free. And so we can get in underneath and open the hinges. Same on the other side. So again, we want to go under the hinge, lift open, and with both hinges open, we should now be able to slide free the base of the machine. This now gives us our damaged lid assembly. As we can see, this hinge is loose and the bezel has popped in this corner because the mounts or the mounting points for the hinge have pulled out of the lid. We have our replacement lid, but our first thing to do is to strip down this one. So we want to get a pry tool in. Obviously we have a good panel in here, so we want to try and avoid any damage to that. But we are going to just get our pry tool in and unclip this bezel. So working along the side is probably your easiest option first. So being careful not to scratch the screen, just slot this in and lift the bezel up. You can then go basically we just keep pushing in and lifting up the pry tool to undo the little plastic snaps. And then as we get to the bottom, using fingers may be easier along the base. And once we have gone all the way around, we should be able to lift the bezel off the screen. As we can see in doing this, the broken points have come straight out and the hinge has popped off here. So we're going to put that to one side and we are going to focus on removing the panel. The panel itself is stuck in, but it is attached to these 2 metal pieces, and since these are undamaged, we can take these out with the display attached. So first of all, we are going to undo the 3 screws for the hinge on this side. And lift out the hinge. And then the 2 screws at the top of the screen. With that done, we are then going to disconnect the connector for the webcam. So peel up that little piece of tape and then using the end of a pry tool and just gently pulling on the cable, disconnect the cable like so. We are then going to work this out of its cable routing here. Around to where it meets the display cable connector. We're then going to pull out the display cable connector and lift out the panel. This will be put aside for a moment and can then be fitted to our replacement lid. We still, however, have some cables and parts that need to be transferred onto the new lid. So what we're going to start by doing is unrouting the wireless antenna cables and the wireless antennas themselves. So these will need to be transferred across, and what we want to do is just get a pry tool under the foil and gently, doing your best not to rip them, peel this up, and then again get a pry tool underneath the connector and lift. We're going to do the same on the second antenna, and again pry tool underneath and lift, and with that we can remove the two aerials. And then finally, we need to remove the webcam, but not the metal underneath it. So we can insert this flat. And just gently peel that out, and again put it to one side, ready to put into the new lid. To remove the screws from the broken plastic, I'm just going to hold them in my screw extracting pliers, but some regular pliers will do the trick, and gently unscrew each of those. This is a pretty common failure on all kinds of laptops, but I have seen a couple of these Acer Aspire 3s with the same failure. Fortunately, the lid on these is not too expensive, at around £25 I paid. It's just a bit time consuming to replace, and a bit disappointing that I've seen similar failures on two identical machines. Before refitting the hinges, we then need to route our cables down the side of the screen. So we are going to press in the aerial cables on this side. This has to be done now because these go underneath the hinges. And then on the other side, we want to route in the EDP cable first. And then on the other side, we have the webcam cable. Has to work around the edge of the bezel. And similarly up the side of the screen. Around this corner. And then through the cable route. Before being plugged back in to the webcam here at the top. This is obviously quite fiddly, and sorry if it's not the clearest to see, but we just need to make sure that that is pulled all the way in and the webcam is properly connected. With that done, we can then refit our hinges, making sure that the cable routes through cleanly. So we need to press that one on here, making sure this cable comes in on the inside. Likewise, we then want to fit the right hand hinge, again making sure this cable comes through here, or these two cables I should say. With all that in place, we are then ready to refit our bezel. To do this, we're just going to line things up and start by pressing in the top corner to rehook these. And clipping everything down into place. And with everything clipped down, we are then ready to refit this to the laptop. So for refitting, we're going to bring the base in at a high angle, slot it in around the hinge, and then lower it down. And with that done, we can then push close the hinges, making sure they line up over these plastic lugs to position things correctly. And with that done, we're ready to finish our reassembly of the machine and get it back to the customer. So I'm going to start by routing the Wi-Fi antennas. Bringing these back to the Wi-Fi card. And clipping these back into place by lining them up and then pressing down so that they clip on. We are going to then refit our I/O board cable. Slotting that in and pressing back down. And reconnect our screen connector. We can then refit the hinge screws. Reconnect our battery. By slotting the connector in and ensuring it is pushed all the way into place. And with that done, we're now ready to refit our base and our work is done. So we can line the base back up and begin pushing around to re-engage the plastic clips. And then all that's left to do is refit the screws. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, consider giving this video a like, or if you want to make a contribution towards the channel, hitting the super thanks button to go towards our running costs for the channel. If you have any questions, do leave a comment below, and if you would like to see future videos as we post them, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.